Hi everyone! So yesterday I have been trying out the Star-Packed Meteor Wizard on the PTR for Season 24. With those new ethereal items there is a really strong wizard weapon called the Mang Song's Lesson, which is a two-handed staff that gives you 300% increased damage to all wizard skills compared to the 100% extra damage that almost every other class and almost every other weapon has. The thing is that most wizard builds actually won't be able to use Mang Song's Lesson because almost all of them have 3 mandatory weapons or offhands. So usually, for example, Frozen Orb, you have an offhand and you have 2 weapons. You have Twister with an offhand and 2 weapons, etc. But there are a few wizard builds that actually don't have offhands, and those just require 1 or 2 weapons and otherwise nothing special. And this is exactly where Mang Song's Lesson comes in. So those builds are Meteor, Exploding Blast in case you want to do something like that, and actually the Firebird's Wizard, which benefits quite heavily from that weapon too. So obviously there's no doubt that Firebird's Wizard is going to be the king. It's going to be one of the strongest builds in the next season because of this weapon, and also just in general because the other top builds got nerfed and this one didn't. But here we got some new hype for Star-Packed because of the staff. You know, it's a two-handed staff that really makes you feel like a wizard with big impacts, and it kind of gives Meteor a bit of a higher bonus than the ethereals do for other builds because of the extra damage from the weapon. So I hopped on a PTR and crafted some gear. I was playing the reverse Archon LOD version here. So this used to be the best pushing build of that, and I believe it still is, but oh boy, it is so clunky. So essentially the way this works is you have to stack a lot of cooldown reduction and get down to a 32-second cooldown rotation, so you can throw 1 Star-Packed Meteor with full arcane power every 2 convention cycles. And then there's one that you spend in Archon, you're gonna skip that, and you don't do anything in Archon, you just gather enemies and try to survive. Especially here you have Squirt's Necklace, and you don't really have a good source of shielding besides Galvanizing Ward. So essentially you have to just not get hit and try to get your shield that way to protect your Squirt's Necklace. So overall it's kind of clunky, and when you're out of Archon you prepare to pull, you throw a Meteor, and then you enter Archon while it's in the air, and this is essentially how the Bazooka Wizard worked back in the day. But there was also the channeling in there with Death Wish and Sigil that gave more multipliers, which is not possible to do anymore. So I opened as 125 here, and I had decent map, decent monster type, and well, it didn't really feel that great. Not just the playstyle, but also the damage, not that crazy. It definitely works much better in groups, so that's not exactly a solo pushing build anyway, because of how clunky it is and how you rely on big density and you have insane density scaling. But in groups it is actually possible to do 150 to this next season. So Rob has done some numbers on some possible 150 trash killers for Foreman, and it turns out that the Bazooka Wizard, even without the Death Wish and all that, is gonna be roughly half as strong as it used to be back in Season 19 when it was still the meta. So that's actually quite curious, and it will definitely be quite doable if you want to do a Star-Packed Wizard for Foreman to do 150 with that. There's no hope of beating something like Grimscythe in terms of, you know, consistency and overall DPS. I have also tried a non-Archon variant of the Star-Packed Wizard here using this Mang Song's Lesson. So here I essentially removed all the Archon stuff and I throw Meteors a lot more frequently. On every COE cycle I try to get 2 Meteors out. I have Black Hole in the build now, so I can actually group up enemies and get a bit of damage buffs. So there are a lot of perks here, but you don't have this huge nuke every 32 seconds that you get on a Bazooka. So here you can spawn Oculus Wings, for example, which gives you a nice benefit. Here you don't have to run Gogok, you can run Trapped, which gives you a nice benefit. You have the Black Hole, but you lose all the Archon multipliers. So in general, it seems like the 2 setups are not necessarily far apart, and maybe Bazooka works slightly better on like a perfect rift rate. So here I was running 10 tiers lower than I just did. I was doing 125 on Bazooka and now 115 without the Archon. So I think if I had opened this rift with the Bazooka Wizard, it probably would have also worked, maybe even slightly better, because this is exactly the kind of rift that you want. Still using the Mang Song's Lesson stuff. I also tried a one-handed weapon to try to throw even more meteors, but I feel the staff is just doing much more for this build. It's kind of difficult to really estimate how strong this build is really going to be, because I have quite low Paragon here. I'm kind of squishy in some sense, but yeah, I think it can probably clear all the way up to 130 with this or so, but after that it will become really difficult, maybe slightly higher if you fish for some super insane whiff with a very strong character. But yeah, in general, it turns out that Meteor builds on a wizard definitely need a lot more help than just damage, because even this version without the Archon felt kind of clunky, it felt kind of slow, and it felt like I didn't have all that much control over what was happening most of the time. I think it's quite obvious that Meteor builds on a wizard needs a lot more help than just damage, so they need to have more consistency or just more exciting stuff in general. So right now you have the Star Pact, which is like by far the best. There's Meteor Shower, which you can kind of play in T16, and this is about it. So it's very weak, but also not really feeling very fun to play. So there could be, you know, some Tarasha rework, for example, in the future, where maybe you can combine Meteor runes, so you have like 2 at a time or 3 at a time, and you have like this Meteor Shower together with something else or something like that. There could be really cool stuff where it will become more exciting, and maybe you could even swap around what the skill does by combining different elements with your Tarasha set or something like that. So this could be pretty cool, but for now I said that I want to play Star Pact Wizard because I was so hyped, you know, you have this two-handed stuff, you're gonna be like a real wizard and throw these big meteors, but in the end it turns out it's not all that fun. So for me this is probably a hard skip next season. I was very excited, and after trying it out I was quite disillusioned about how it plays and how it feels. Anyway, for the Meteor enthusiasts, it does get quite a bit better next season, so this would be the time to play it before whatever rework or buff comes to Meteor, so we'll see in future seasons. I believe that this is definitely something for Blizzard to look at, you know, when the time of Firebird has ended, especially. I think Meteor would be the way to go for the wizard class. So let me know what you think. Maybe you have the same opinion or not. Maybe you have something else on a wizard that you'd really like to see. So I'd be curious about that. And otherwise, hope you enjoyed this little video. See you guys next time.